Hey you guys, welcome to our 7-year-old peach tree pruning video. And today we're going to be pruning this tree right here. And it is at the front of our farm, next to this telephone pole and next to this electrical box and next to the fence right there. So that should make it fun and an obstacle course to go around all these things. But maybe that's a good thing. It'll kind of show you not only how to prune the mature adult 7-year-old tree, but also how to make spacing around obstacles in your yard or somewhere like that. So with that being said, I'll show you some of the tools we're going to use today. And we've showed you some tools in our other videos too, and we have a video that talks about tools specifically. But today we are going to have our saw for some bigger stuff, and our handy dandy hand pruner, of course, for doing the majority of the work, and a sharpening file, a fine file for sharpening it nice and razor sharp, so it gives us nice clean cuts on everything, and it makes our life easier and our job easier. And then of course this is to adjust the nut on our pruner. Should it become loose, then we can just tighten it back up a bit. And then we have our big pruners right here that can cut stuff that's up high and bigger stuff that maybe is harder for our hand to cut. And so those are what I have those with us today in case we run into something like that. So speaking of height and speaking of reaching up high, that leads me into talking a little bit about our tree before we start pruning. So you'll notice that this mature tree is pretty big now, and it's pretty developed structurally and everything. But you may notice that if I stand next to it, and I'm 5'10", the tree only goes up to maybe 8 feet tall max. And those are the very tips of it. And as we're pruning today, we probably will be chopping it down just a little bit shorter than that to where we're almost at 7 feet max on the whole tree. And of course, when I reach up with my arm with my pruners, that's about the extent of my reach. Now, if I go on my tippy toes, I can go a little higher. And that's an important point to understand, is now that we're at this level at 7 years old, we have stopped the structure from going higher, and now the structure is going out and getting bigger all the way around. We're creating a big satellite dish, or even maybe a better thing of that, it's almost like a big donut up here that we have, that all the structure down here is holding it all up. And so we have a big donut of peach production all the way around with the open center so that the sun can get the sides of all the structure up in there and ripen all the peaches really nicely. So obviously there's a lot of different ways to prune, and a lot of the commercial guys that are growing thousands and 10,000 trees and all this stuff, they're probably going to go for even a simpler approach than what we have here, where they might just have 4 or 5 laterals coming straight up, and they're just going to cut everything off and let laterals grow every year for mass production. And their trees are not going to be very healthy probably, but they'll last for maybe 10 to 15 years. But a tree like this, where we're allowing it to fill out a big space and grow its big arms and eventually become a big donut up there of production, this tree probably could be productive for 25 to 30 years if we take good care of it. And so that's another difference that is considered. But obviously for homeowners, you may only have 1 or 2 trees, and you probably want it to last a long time. So this is a good video then, and a good style of pruning for people who are not trying to necessarily mass produce every inch of 10,000 trees. You know, I want to just give you a little tour of the tree, give you a general idea of what we're going to do to it. So if you come on in here with the camera, just to get a feel of how big it is, I'd like you to kind of show them around the tree. And you can kind of see all the different structures coming up and all the way around, and you can see all the things we're going to do to it. And then if you go into the center there, you can see daylight now. And the cool thing about being in the center here, and here, you can see me here. So I'm leaning on the tree in the center. So if you actually look around now in the center here, you'll see your peaches all around you but you'll have kind of sky up in the middle here. And that's kind of what we're trying to keep. We're trying to keep that. And we're going to let the tree grow a little bit because it wants to grow, but we're also going to stop the tree from growing higher, and we're going to stop the tree from growing anywhere we don't want it to grow. Like, we don't want it to fill in our center, and we don't want it to get too stringy out on the sides, so we will kind of keep our center open and keep anything that's going too weird out to the sides. We'll keep it shaped into our donut, and then we'll also control our height, and I'm going to show you how to do that. When I train people to prune the trees on our farm, or I have trained lots of people over the years, one of the things that really helps them to get to know how to pruning is the repetition of going through and doing it together. And so a lot of times I'll do 3, 4, 5 trees together with them. We're going through the whole thing, and by the end they get a real good feel for what we're doing. It's going to take a little while, but you know, in our videos, one of the things we've wanted to do is go through and do the whole tree together, even if it takes an hour, because that's the reality of it, is that it does take 45 minutes to an hour to do a full tree. And it's nice, I think that it's nice to be able to go through a whole tree with somebody so you get a good feel for the decisions they're making. And so that's what we're going to try to do here. And the first place I will go is, again, I'm looking at the structure of the tree first of all, and I got my stump and I got different scaffoldings that come off, and this tree has a pretty good shape to it and everything. So I don't see anything major at the moment, no big limbs I'm going to saw out of there or hack out of there. And I don't see a lot of, you know, on some trees, it's just the nature of the different varieties and the different trees. Some trees want to really fill that center in really hard. They'll shoot all sorts of branches out into the, and you can see in the past, this one has done that too. And you see all these marks right here where the tree has healed, where those were coming up. So, you know, in time, as you train the tree, it tends to start knowing kind of what you're hoping for it to do, and it hopefully starts going along with you a little bit. So with that being said, there's not too much in the middle to cut out, but if there was, that would be the first place we would start, is with those middle cuts. So then I guess we'll start on the big ring up here, and we'll start cutting up there. So I'm going to start right here on this one right in front of me, and let's start right here. We have a Y shape coming off this scaffolding into production and into production. Now this one here got broken, so that branch ain't too good, and also this branch is right into the crotch here of the tree, so that seems like a good candidate to take out of there. Now excuse me while I throw this, open my canister up here. We're going to throw all the branches into the green dumpster here like normal. Okay, and another thing to think about up here is you have a lot of stuff. If you look at the whole thing, there's a lot of stuff, but we're in a position now where we're ready to produce peaches full-time on this tree. You know, we're not trying to grow so much branches and so much structure. So we want peach production. And in order to have good peach production, we need good spacing on everything. So that's what we're really going to be thinking about up here as we go. So if you're looking at this branch right here, you're saying, hey, this branch right here, let's say, is coming off this way. And it's kind of a weird one. It's crossing over this branch. And usually that'd be a no-no, especially if that branch is down here close to it. But because there's almost a whole 10 inches to a foot between this branch and this branch, we have space for this stuff to do its thing and space for this one to do its thing. So we have the spacing. So I'm going to head this one off right here and keep all those buds along there for peach production, because if you take the camera angles, you'll see that that one has space all around it to do it. Okay, now we're going to go up here. Now I know that this one I like. I know that it's pointed back into the tree kind of, but remember, now that we have the structure here and we have the open center, we're making these different, it's almost like holding your hand where it clasps like these different areas. So we are creating all these different clutches up here, I call them, where they have spacing and they have sunlight because the main center is open. And so I don't mind that this one's coming back now because it's part of my clutch I'm going to create up here. Okay, I cut that one out because it was pointing over to this one. I'm trying to open up this branch so it can do something and give it a little spacing. And I noticed that this branch off the other one's coming to touch it. So I'm going to cut that one away real quick because I think I want the spacing for here. And I got to decide now. You look, I got buds all along here. So that's great for peach production. But I got 3 stuff up here, so I only want 2. I like 2 or 3. And if I get more than that, then the tree has a hard time making nice big peaches. Usually it starts getting too much for this little, the juice coming through these little limbs here to overproduce. So we want to make sure that it doesn't have too much. So I think I'll cut this one off and this little dead one there. I'll trim that one and I'll trim that one. And now we have those 2 that are going to have space to do some peaches. And you got to think how big the peaches get. They get that big, then they got to have space to hang on the limb like that as they're doing it. All right, let me come over here. I'm going to cut that little center one out. And I took this one off the back. Now, if you notice, this one's kind of headed almost the exact same way, parallel to it. But we don't have enough space for all that to happen. So I'm going to pick this one down here, and I'm going to get rid of this one up here. Well, now we have the space for that one to do what it needs to do. Now this one is kind of coming out this way, and this one is below it, but I'm going to cut this one out. It's too much, but I'm going to keep this big strong one that's coming out this way so it can produce some peaches. So now you see we're creating this hand up here with the correct spacing, and we have this guy left up here, this big tree. Now I don't want all this stuff up here because I don't want the tree to grow a whole nother 2 feet up into the air. I'm trying to keep stuff within my reach so that it's easy to prune my tree. I don't have to involve ladders. And that's a whole nother topic that we talked about in our tool video, is if you're in your yard and you have fences down here and your tree does need to go up a little bit higher, you can do that. You can let your tree go up 9, 10, 11 feet, whatever you got to do. But just remember that you'll have to start involving ladders to take care of that tree. So on our farm where we have more trees, we try to keep everything at a level where we can stand on the ground and get around it quick, because we have to prune it, thin it, harvest it, and do it all over again every year. So that's a lot of ladder moving if you have to do it that way. All right, so I'm going to cut this big tree off right here, and I'm going to leave this thing, and this one has buds all along it. So that one, I'm going to call this part of the tree right here complete. So that one comes back down to here now, and we did this little guy. So now we're going to go up this other side and do him. All right. Now right here we have this one poking into here. There's not as much spacing as I'd like, so I'm going to head that one off right there, and I'm giving myself 6 to 8 inches from that other branch. And I'll come back to this branch later, but let's finish this one off. All right, I like this big strong one here on the back. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to cut this one out of the middle. It's too crowded with these 3. So I'm going to cut that one out of the middle. And then I'm going to trim that one off. So I got 2 there. This one underneath is too much. I don't need that little duker down there. Okay, I got a nice strong one coming out this way. I'll head that one. I'll cut this one right here and cut that extra off and that extra. And now I have 2 again. And then this thing is partially dead and it's hanging down funny. I think I'm just going to get rid of that right there. And then right here we have a big thing developing up here, so we'll keep some of that. I think I'm going to cut it right here and take the head out of it, and now it kind of opens up into a hand there again. So I'm going to top that one. I'm going to keep that one, and you'll notice that if these are a little bit high, I don't have to necessarily get a ladder. Look, I can actually pull the branch down a whole foot towards me, and it makes it easier for me to access it. So I'll head that one off and that one. And then there's some little things there. And here's a good example of when you don't want to have to prune every little thing. You can take your hand and rub those right off. And now they're gone. And so that's ready to produce. So that little segment we just did on our adult tree. Okay, now we have this one that we're coming. So let's come down this one now and see what we got to do here. So we have that one in there. We kind of have a hand here, and we have a hand up here, kind of that we're gonna, a big clutch up there. So we got to give everything its proper spacing. And look how much growth is in here. This thing looks like a porcupine. So we have our work cut out for us. We got to select what we want. So again, I'm going to start right here on this one. I'm going to cut out the head. And that gives a nice open bowl. So, you know, that's the thing too, is that if this tree is one big bowl, then we're making a series of smaller bowls. And it's just about, it kind of, that theme runs throughout the whole tree, that we keep making these areas that are satellite dish shaped, or so that it can get good sunlight and good ripening and good size on your peaches. All right, this thing has got all sorts of stuff, but it's too close together. It's too crowded. And if I counted on this little branch, how many peach buds there are? Oh, there's probably 1,000 there, maybe less. But point is, we all know that the peaches get that big, then that would be crazy to have all that. So we got to thin it out there a little bit, so we don't have to work so hard later when we come back to thin. So we're going to give ourselves some space and trim all that stuff away. And we can decide to keep a few of them down here lower. I like this one that comes straight out. It's got some good space in there and it can do something. And this one ain't too bad. We'll keep him. But the rest of these are going away. And there's that one. And if you don't want to, you don't have to keep these ones down here. You can just have the main bowl up there, which is going to produce a lot anyway. And it puts a lot of weight on the tree. So that's the thing you have to think about too, is structurally the weight. But this pruning really helps with that. It helps the tree to not be overburdened, and it helps it to be strong in its structure. All right, let's look out here at this thing. We got some big horns coming out here. I'm going to cut the one out of that middle again. I'm going to top this one off again, about 16 to 18 inches, what we're looking for. And I kept that big one too. This one straight down is coming off. This one going straight up in the back is coming off. Now over here we do have some laterals coming out this way, but I would think that if we tried to grow a peach right there, it's going to conflict with these ones right here. So I think we'll just give it space. We got to have space. Otherwise it ain't going to work out too good. Okay, here's a good lateral coming off this way where we have more space. So I'm going to cut the middle out of that, head that one off, and that one. And then I'm going to just get those little other things out of there so that it can focus on the thing I left out here, so we have space. Okay. Now on this branch that we just did, we still have one over here, and it has some space to work with. So we'll keep this one that kind of has this upward trend. This one that's straight up goes off, and that one that's straight down goes off. And I think I'll keep this one right here. I'll head that, and I'll take this one off the back. We don't need that one. So it's just a Y coming out. And that's about all that little branch can handle for production. If it could put out 3 peaches right here, it would be very happy to do so. That'd be great. So now what we have left on this one is this one that comes straight up. And we're going to start working on it there. I cut the head out of that one. Let's look at the very top here for a minute. This one's got a lot going on too. So it's got these nice things coming out that way. I don't mind this one coming back that way. Make a nice bowl up in there. So I think I'll head that one off back there. I'm keeping that one. I think I'm keeping this one out here in the front. I think I'm going to keep this one that comes over here. Good spacing on those. And I think I'll cut the rest of that head right out of there. So there's that one. Now, we have kind of this main one that's coming. But I think it's a little bit too close to this one. We're getting a little crowded in there. So I'm going to take that whole thing right off. All right, we'll clean this one up a little bit, head that off. That one's probably fine on the back side. All right. Okay, so that cleaned that one up nice. We have another one here, and I think I like these two right here. I'm not such a fan of these little small ones up in here. So I think what I'll do is I'll cut it right there, and then I'll head these two right here, and maybe they'll be able to produce some stuff for you. Okay, and now, so we got that big main one we did. We also got this thing coming over this way. And again, we have to consider what the other branches are doing that are next to it, because again, it's all about the spacing. So we're trying to look at that. So we got this one down here, but if I do this correctly, it should have space to do what it needs to do, and that'll have space to do what it needs to do. So let me cut this big Christmas tree off there, and now we have that one we're keeping. We'll cut the one that's going straight up, and I'm going to cut this head out of that one. And then I'm going to keep some of these. Let's see. I think I'll cut this one that's hanging low, and that one too, and that one too on the underside of the branch. Then the ones that come straight up, that's always the part that can help make things a little bit easier, is the ones that go straight off the branch, and the ones that come right below it is the ones we want to get rid of first. Okay, and then if you come over here, now I know it's in the sun, but if you come over here, you'll see that we have all this feathering right here that we just created, and now we can choose them. So I'm going to choose to head that one. I'm keeping that one, and I'm keeping that one. I'm getting rid of that one and that one, so I need a little bit of space. I think I'll keep that one, but I'll get rid of that one. Okay. Okay, now let's come back to this big thing up here. We already kept this one and this one. Now remember, probably I should cut these a little bit lower, because I don't want the tree to go up to the top of the telephone pole. So maybe I'll just trim those off another 4 inches and try to help the tree stay low. And then I'm going to cut some of this stuff on this big bush right here. So we don't need all this stuff too close to these ones. We got to clean that up a little bit. So let's cut out that one that's close to it, and that one. And how about that one? And you know what? Just about all those are going to go away. I'll keep this one off the back. That's okay. And that one goes away, and that one goes away, and that one goes away. Okay. So that cleaned up that big one up there. And now we got this kind of odd one, but it's really close to that other branch. And you know what? I think its life has come to an end. All right, so we did this one, and now off the same scaffolding arm, we're going to come up this trail over here. So we'll start here. Now we got this one wrapping underneath, but I do say you could get rid of that one, or you could keep it. And the reason you can keep it is because it has good spacing from the other stuff. And you could trim it off right here, let's say, and you have a peach production in this empty zone, which is probably just fine. So that's the funny thing about these rules, that even though that one's coming underneath, at least for 1 year for peach production, we would keep it. So the rules just depend sometimes, you know, because normally you'd say, oh, that's for sure getting rid of, but it has space and it has an ability to do something for us this year, so we would keep that. Okay, let's go up here now to the rest of this stuff. So some of these are getting kind of, you see how they're getting kind of wimpy in here, little stuff. Well, we can choose to keep it or get rid of it. But I think if we kept it, we'd cut it right there, and we'd cut that one off the bottom. And you see these buds coming out here? We'd probably just keep that right there. It can grow for a year. Now between here, the top, and here, there's another one right there. I like to have 8-10 inches to a foot between my things if I can. So that's about 10 inches. And so that gives space for that one to grow. So we'll keep that one. I'm going to cut that right there, head that right there. And then this one coming off the back, I'm going to chop that. And I'm just going to keep this one right here. Okay, let's go up the branch here. So here we have our branch we just did, and we have this big crazy thing. So that's the type of ones that make you start getting a little bit, you know, overwhelmed on your thinking. But we'll start at the top of it. How about that? We know we like that one. And maybe we don't like that one. Maybe we like that that comes out that way, or this one goes out that way. If that were the case, then I'll cut it right here, which is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to cut the one off the back. And I'm going to cut some of these out because they just got too much on that branch. I'm going to keep the one going out that way. I'm going to take off that and take off that and that. And that one's too close into the thing. Remember how big those peaches get. If they get that big, then we can't have that full stuff. So we'll just keep that real simple. Just 3 on that whole thing. And then this one here, it's got a good thing coming off. We'll chop those and get rid of that. And get rid of that and that. And again, come down and thin out the branches so that we can focus on producing good peaches instead of just a bunch of bad ones. Okay. So we got a lot on these bushy little things we gotta pick. So we got these 2. That means that whatever comes next has got to be at least that far apart. So that one's okay. I can head it. This one's okay too, but I think I'm going to go with this one instead, just a little further down. Give it a little bit of an offset right there. And then I'm going to chop that one out of the bottom. Okay, so there's that one. We just went up. Now we got to come back here and do this one. This one's coming off the back into kind of an open space. So I think I'm going to give that one a chance. I'm just going to head it off right here, both of those. And I'm going to let that one produce for us this year. And this little guy over here, I think is too wimpy. I'm going to get rid of him. And I'm going to try to make the most out of these ones. Head them off. And let's head that off and trim that and that and that. And then that one out of the middle. Let's chop that right there. Okay, you see that little hand almost that I made? A little, what do they call it? Like when a clasp. It clasps the jewel in a ring or something. Now while I was up here, I saw a dead one over here, so I'm going to chop that off. So there goes that one. And we want to keep the tree clean of too many dead ones. Okay, so now we did this area and that area. We have this little thing growing right here. And you could get rid of that pretty quick if you wanted, or you can keep it and let it try to do something right there. I think I will this year. If I don't like it next year, well then we can always get rid of it. Okay, we got one more off this segment of tree that goes up over into here, into these other areas. But it has its own area up there. We want to keep that. We want to let it have its area of space. So I'm going to try to keep it lower again. I'm going to cut the middle out of the tallest one there. And then I'm going to head off these ones at the top. And then I think I'm going to actually take that one out of there. I'm going to leave this one to grow. I'm going to take that one out and that one. Clean that up. Okay, and we got this thing coming out this way. We'll head that off and let it produce and take off some of the over peach craziness there so that it doesn't go too crazy. Okay, and then this branch is kind of underneath this one, and it's kind of, you see how it's starting to go willowy on us? So we're just going to take that one out because we don't want our peach tree to turn into a willow tree. And then we got one more run coming up this way. I'm going to head that. And I'm going to cut off some of this stuff. It's too much. The ones that are close into the crotch there for sure. And I'll leave a little bit of production along this line. On the lateral. The one's going sideways, I mean. And then I'm just going to cut off this one off the point. Right there. And I'm just going to leave this one to be our point man. And there he is. So that kind of finishes up that segment of the tree. So we got this whole thing done coming up. So I'm going to jump to this one next. And it has some brand new growth that the tree tried to grow into here, into the middle. But if you actually come into the middle, you'll see that it's actually not really in the middle. It's just trying to protect itself on this limb right here and to help shade the limb appropriately. And so, you know what? I'm going to work with these and I'm going to keep them. And so it helps fill in that spacing on the tree, which is needed. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to cut out the middle on this one. And I'm going to, again, about 16 inches. And then I get myself a bowl going. And then I'm going to cut out that one. I'm going to keep this one for peach production. And this one, I'll just let grow this year. And then I'm going to come to these two and kind of decide to, I think I'll cut it right there and trim 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 that right there. Now this one, you could say, well, you know, these two are kind of going to cross over each other, so we could get rid of that one if we wanted to. Or we could get rid of that one if we wanted to. I don't know which one. Maybe I'll get rid of this one over here. And that gives this one some more room to do some things. Again, we're looking for spacing. Space to do things. Okay, we're coming up this branch now. So here we go here. And here we go right here. We're just going to leave 2 for this branch to work on. And then, now that we've come up that limb, we're at a Y point again. So I'm just going to, before I go up that Y, I'm going to look at the tip of this branch out here. And maybe I'll come back down this way now. So I'm going to cut the middle out of that. Keep that. Cut that. Keep that. And just like we did before, start working over the hedge here of over peach growth so we can thin it out a little bit so it can focus on some stuff and make those branches stronger. And I think we'll get rid of that one off the back. So we got 4 on that one. And then same with this one. We're going to cut out that one out of the middle, trim those, cut that one, and I'm going to keep that, or cut that one, and I'm going to cut this one off the back. It's a little too close to those other ones. And I'm going to head this one right there and trim that down a little bit. We got too much. Remember, we got to think about how big those peaches get. They get, if you really want them big, they'll be 5 inches in diameter. So you got to think about your peach production on an adult tree. So let's keep going, and I'm going to try to speed up just a little bit, you guys, so that we can get through this huge tree. It takes a little bit longer because I'm doing so much talking. Usually I just come through and go toot, 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 and we'd be done this tree in about 45 minutes. But, you know, we got to talk about it a little bit. So again, with this one where I trimmed it up, let me take this little dead piece off. I'm just allowing for spacing. It's space from there and space from there, and it has its, you should be able to take your whole hand all around it and have space. And we have 3 there, and we did up here, so that one's done. So let's do this one. And this one has some space. I could keep it if I wanted to, but it is kind of growing between this big area and this big area, and I just think structurally, I don't think I want to keep that one. I think I'm going to get rid of him for the future. So that was a structural decision more than a peach one. And those you have to make as you go through too. So now we went up that one. Let's come up this one. This branch right here is coming across into here, and he's too close into here anyway, so I got to cut him. And then this one here, I'll cut the one going down. I'll cut that one, and I'll leave that one. And let's cut that one off. And then this one here, we're coming up the branch. We'll cut that one out of the middle and leave that real vigorous one and trim it. Now this one doesn't have as much space as it should, but I think it's good enough. We'll leave that one. I'm going to cut that one off the top and trim that one. There's a little peach production there. We got some space. All right, let's come up to the top of this one. Take that one off the top. Trim that one and that one and that one. And then got a lot of peach growing here. We don't got too much. I just got to get rid of those. And then this one here we'll keep, and get rid of this one down in the crotch. And this one get rid of. So that one you can kind of see has good spacing now. Okay, let's just do this little guy over here. Cut the one out of the center, top. Cut that one and that one. Remember, we need spacing in here. We'll leave this guy here. And we'll just get rid of these little guys. Okay, so that branch is done. All right, that leads us to, I think that one's done. It's always good to double check. I think it is, yeah. So that leads us to this guy coming off the same arm. He's coming up into here. He's got a lot of strength and big, tall stuff up in there. So I like what we've done though, because we have one shooting out into here for some space, and one up into here, and one up into here, and that's good. So we're probably going to work on trying to keep those. But there's some stuff that doesn't need to be there too. Like this one has all this stuff. I'm going to cut it right there and leave that one poking out. You see that? Now it has a lateral it can work on for a peach right there. All right, we're going to have to get up high now. So the good news is that I can pull the branch down to it's almost level right here with my eyes. So that's good. So I got to decide what I'm going to do now. I got this one coming out here. Oh, I think that one in the middle is too big. So let me top that one at 16 inches. I'll cut that one out, top that one. This one's okay. Let's thin it out just a little bit there on the little branches. Okay, that one's too much too. Okay, and this one's okay. We'll top that one off. Boy, that sun's right in my eyes, huh? And right there. Okay. Yeah, that's probably fine. I'll cut that one off, okay? And then we're going to come over here and do this one. And chop that one going straight up there, kind of. And we'll head that one off. And this one that's too close to it. And again, we're looking for spacing. I think I'm going to take that one out. I like this one that's a little bit longer there. And I'm going to take that one out and that one out. We're just kind of thinning out all these little tiny branches. And that one off the back. And this one's okay too. Now we got 1, 2, 3 here. It's a little bit crowded in there, so we might decide what we want to do. I think I'm going to take this one off right here. Or wait, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should take this one off right here. Anyway, that's a choice right there that somebody could make. So what choice am I going to make? Well, I'm going to take this one off because I like the spacing between this branch and that branch and this branch and that branch, and that's nice. And hopefully, as you start getting good at this, you don't have to think so hard. You just start using your muscle memory. You start seeing it a lot quicker, what looks normal and what doesn't. Okay, so we did this one coming out this way. Let's trim up this big tall one real quick. I'm going to take the big head out of the middle, chop that and chop that, and take those off. Yep, and trim that up. So I left 3 ones up on that one. Again, kind of forming that little clutch, that little, that's what I call it anyway. But and then we'll take that big one out of the middle, keep our tree short. We don't want it going too tall. And again, like this one is kind of a tall branch. If you wanted to, you could cut this whole piece off right here, and you'd bring your whole tree down quite a lot. And your tree would start trying to shoot new stuff out at this level, So there is a way you can control the tree pretty good, where you probably don't want to do too much of that too quickly, because it makes your tree go kind of crazy in survival mode if you get too, if you start chopping it so hard. But you can slowly bring it down or slowly bring it up, or you can work at it and kind of shape it the way you want it to be so that it doesn't get too tall or too whatever. So this one right here, we're going back to here. Oh, boy, it starts making me think twice, huh? I'm just going to cut that one out of the middle, and I'm going to take that one out too right there. I'm going to leave that one and that one. And that one's going away, and that one's going away. And that one could go away. I guess I'll keep it for a peach this year. Then I'll trim this one. And actually, I'm going to trim that one right there and trim that one too. And all these ones that are down close into the thing, you don't need any peaches right in here because all it does is make a peach that looks scarred because it's rubbing on the bark all day long. So there's kind of that one. Now if we wanted to, we could just get rid of that one altogether. Here, like this and this. They have more spacing, but they're kind of don't have that good of spacing because they're growing into each other. I think it'd be beneficial just to get rid of those and let the tree breathe in there a little bit better. So it has room to grow some new stuff for us. Okay, this one right here, we kind of have two segments. One's kind of going out, the hand is going out that way, and one's kind of coming back this way. So I think I'm going to work with those. I'm going to cut that one out of the top and that one out of the back. And let's see, what will I keep here? I think I'm going to keep 3 of them. Cut that one down. I'll trim that one right there. And I'll trim that one about there, and I'll trim that one up there too. So now we have a kind of a segment going out that way. And then I'm going to come over this one and do this guy. And I think I'm going to trim those big tall guys out of there. I'm going to bring him down a little bit lower. So I'm going to go right to here actually. That was probably a surprising one, but too high. So I'll just head these ones off now, and I'll decide which ones to keep here. And I don't want to rub this branch, so maybe what we'll do is we will pick which one we're going to keep there, and I think we'll go like that right there. And that gives some nice space in there, and we'll head those off. There you go. So you kind of have a little group of branches up in there that have good spacing. Okay, so now on this branch, I think the last one on this segment, and this little guy's poking in the way from the other branch, so I'll just cut him out of the way so he's not confusing to us, is this segment right here. This one's real easy. This big tall one is strong, and I'm going to chop him at about 16 inches, and he's got lots of peach flowers on him, so he'll produce. Chop that one out in the middle, and I'm going to keep this little thing out here. And then up here, he got real tall, so we'll chop him out up there, head that one, and we'll chop those and clean it up just a little bit as we come down, and so that we have some spacing. So I left space for that one, and then we'll head that one off too. Got some on my mouth there. Okay, and these are okay, so we'll head those off too up there. And we'll chop that one out of the middle, and this one off the back side. Yeah, it's a little bit hard reaching that one, but anyway, okay. So that one's done. Okay, with this branch here done, let's hit this one that comes up this way up against the telephone pole. So this is kind of an interesting thing to think about now. Just like we have made spacing for all those branches to have space to do their production and their leaves, it's the same thing with having an obstacle like this telephone pole in the way. We just want to make sure that we have the spacing so that when the wind blows, the peaches aren't all hitting up against the telephone pole. So we're just looking, again, it's no big deal having an obstacle in the donut of your tree, but we just have to make sure we have spacing. So that's what we'll do on this one now. So first of all, we're just coming up here. We got some big ones shooting out the back here, trying to help provide a little shade to the scaffolding. So we're going to work with those. We're going to keep those. So I'm just going to cut this one off right there, and I'm going to keep this one that goes up that way. But for structural reasons, that's a little bit long for just a peach producer, but I think I want to develop kind of a clutch right in here. Now, this one is coming out of that same joint, so it's probably not our best thing. And also this one is kind of hitting against the conduit there for the electrical. So I think I'll chop this one right out of here while keeping the one we just kept. So there goes that one. And this little duker's too small, so he's going away. This one is worth working with. So let's see if we can make a clutch out of this one. We'll trim that one that's too close to the branch here. And then we'll come over here and let's cut it right about there so that we can use these ones that are curling out to build our new bowl. So let me see here. I think I want to keep this. Maybe I shouldn't, because that one's conflicting with there. So you got to think about the spacing here in the future. And this one's over here. I like where this one's kind of going. I think I'll keep this one, and I just headed it off. And this one, I think I'll keep too for this year and see what happens. That one I'll cut off because it's headed back the other way. This one over here I'll keep because it's got some space to be able to do something. I'm going to chop that one off. And I think I'm going to chop right here and take that one off and go with these two right here. So I'll head those off. And there we kind of have a thing up in there. Okay, so let's come over here up this branch now. So we have this all going in here. And we want to make sure we have our space again. So we got this one here, and it's getting a little close. So we got to think about how to give room in here to make these things happen. So I think I'm just going to cut this whole Christmas tree off right here. That one's gone. And then I'm going to cut this one underneath. And I'm going to cut this one in the middle again. And that's kind of leaving these nice big ones here. And I'm going to head those off. Let me head that one off. And I'll head that one off too. Let's see what we got. So if you come up looking underneath now, you'll see that we got some positive stuff going on there. So let's cut that one out. Head that one off. Trim some of that out there. Thin it out just a bit. And trim that. I'm going to... Now look right here. What just happened? That was... This hit a dull part of my pruner. And so it makes the tree really hard for it to heal when you have stuff like that going on. So I'm just going to take a little break and sharpen my pruner, and I'll be right back. Okay, and so I'm back, and we're just going to take that one that was badly cut and just trim it a little bit further down so that it cleans it up for us. And then we got that. So that's for that one. And now we just got this thing up here to work with. So obviously we don't need it to hit the telephone pole too much. So maybe we'll go with this big guy right out here, and we'll cut that one away. And maybe we'll cut this right here like that and give a little bit of space. Remember, we're taught one of the things we're really trying to work on is spacing for it to have leaves and peaches and air to breathe and sunlight to ripen. And so spacing is really what we're always looking for. Okay, I'm going upstream now to this stuff. I don't think I want this one right here because I already have this bowl up here, and it's already, we got a lot of stuff in here. So this is just too crowded. So I'm taking that one out of there. Plus it looked like a big porcupine, and that would have been a lot of work. So forget it. Make your life a little bit easier on the pruning there. Okay, I'm going to take this big one out of the middle. Right there. Actually, I'm going to take that one out too. I'm going to head that one off. Keep that one. One off the back comes off there. There's one right out front comes off. And then those two are a little bit too close. Let's take those off. We got one coming out the back. I might keep that. It's a little too close to the crotch. And then this one's okay. You could leave it, but it'll be shaded over. So let's just let these guys do their thing. Remember, we don't want to have so much stuff because we want the peaches to get up to size. So we want to make sure that we give space and ample sap supply so things can get bigger. Okay, now we got this last thing, and it's hitting the telephone pole right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one away totally, and that one away totally, and I'll just keep this one right here up front. And there we go. That one is done. Okay, so looking at this side of the tree, you can see we've done up to the telephone pole there, and we're coming around. And so we're going to come around this way now to try to get the sun out of our eyes for the video. So let's start right here on this guy that comes off this scaffolding. And you can see he's got one back here, kind of taking up these air spaces. And so he's got space to do things too. So we're not going to cut him. We're not going to get rid of him. He's okay structurally because he's got space, so we're going to prune him up then. Now this thing under here is kind of shaded real bad. You see that? And this other stuff's over top. So the first thing I'm going to do is take him out because he's on his way out anyway. The tree will try to discard him. So let's come up here to the main one. So I like this. We're going to prune that head right there. And we're going to keep that one and prune those off there. Let's take that one out of the... Actually, I'm gonna cut that one right there. I'm going to keep this one in the back. Again, I'm looking at spacing. I'm trying to create these bowls in here. So this is kind of a difficult area. And I may not even keep that one. In fact, I may say, look, if I cut that one out of the middle, then this one's coming that way and these are coming that way. And I get more of a bowl shape. And that's what I want. I don't want too many branches running parallel the same direction. Okay, let's look at this one now. This one has that come off there. And that, again, those ones that are coming straight down, generally we will take them off. And I'll take that one off. Let's head this one up here so we have that bunny ears again. And here we have kind of a bowl up in here developed. And I think I'm going to work with it. I think I'll just head it there. And I'm going to cut this one and I'm going to keep that one. See how I kind of offset those? I could have kept that one. But I like the offsetting because the veins of the tree seem to appreciate that when they're trying to send the sap to the different branches. So I'm just going to keep this one off the back for that little, you know what, that's a little too crowded. I'm going to make a bunny ear here too. So there's that. Got that going on. I'll head that one right there. And that one comes off. This one is kind of crowded in this area. So I think this one will come off. And then we'll try to work with this one. And we'll head those. And we're going to come in here and take those ones off the back. Like so. And this one's kind of coming out and is kind of below these other ones. So it's going to get shaded. So it's got to come out. And this one here. And that one's too close. So right there. Like so. So we're coming down this area. So let's come over here and do this one. So we'll pull it down so I can reach it. And I'm going to cut this out of there and I'm going to do the bunny ears right there. And we'll keep that one off the back right there. I think I'll get rid of that one. And this one's too close to the main growth there. And right there, like so. And that one's probably okay. A little bit, we have spacing for that one, so we kept it. This one, honestly, probably is okay if you want to keep it for peach for this year. And maybe I'll get rid of that one because of that. It's got spacing, so cut that one out of the middle, trim those ones off. We got a bunny ear set going out that way. We got too much peach in there. I'll clear it out. Let's come right here. We'll just go with one off there. One branch is good enough to have 3 peaches hanging off there. It's just fine. That's a lot. So right here, we'll do that same thing. And we'll cut that one up and trim it. And so we got that. This one is a little too crowded in here. I'll just get rid of that. Okay, let's come over here to this area of it. And we'll just work on these. So again, we need spacing. We're looking at this other branch up in here. And I think we'll keep this horn that's going up there. And I think we're going to get rid of this whole tree right here because I went with this horn. I'm going to keep that one and get rid of that one and these. And let's see. I think I'm going to keep this one because it's got a nice strong branch coming off there. We also have one coming back up into here. And we could keep that if we want to for some extra peach. It may end up leaning on this other one. So that's a decision you can make. I think I'm just going to get rid of it because of that fact. And now we got this one here, but it's not a great one, so I'm just going to get rid of it. Okay, so that finishes up this branch right here, and that leads us to this group of step back here. So you'll notice I got this electrical box right under the tree kind of, and as we pruned over the years, we kind of developed our scaffolding so it kind of went up over it like this, and we got these bowls around it and surrounding it and up over it. So again, you can kind of have obstacles that in the way, but you just gotta design your tree to go around it. So now I got to get up in here and cut these ones. And these ones are a little harder to reach. They're kind of tall. So we'll try to chop those ones. Chop that one out of the middle. And maybe just do some bunny ears on these. And come off the back. I'm on my tippy toes right now. And maybe we'll cut that one out of there and head that one off too. All right, we're getting there. Say we have about half the tree done. And one thing about it is that when I'm doing all this, I'm talking, I'm using a lot of energy to do that, but normally I probably could go twice as fast once I get in the groove here than this video would take. So that's something to keep in mind, even though this video is kind of long. Once you really get in here and start going to town on it, you probably do it a lot quicker than I'm doing it right now. So let's cut right here. I'll keep this one and that one. I'll trim that one and that one and that one and that one. And that gives us a nice set coming off that side. And then we have this thing up here that's hard to reach. Let's see if we can work with it. Got a lot of little dukers on that one, too many. So let's just clear it off a little there. And then we actually could leave that one that's coming out front if we wanted. Maybe it'll give you one peach, huh? And then this right here, we'll work with right there. And then we'll just clear that off so that we have space and room for things to grow and breathe. Okay, so we got this last segment coming up here on this one. So let's go through that. Now this one is really porcupine-ish, where it doesn't have lots of strong growth. So I got to make some decisions to help it do a little better. And maybe to even bring it down a little bit lower because it's kind of high. So maybe what I'll do is something a little drastic. Maybe I will cut the top off. That's not that drastic, but I'll do that. And maybe I'll trim it about right there and clean those up in hopes that some of these branches will start bowling out a little bit more instead of going so high. And maybe I'll do that with this other one too. So let's see. These ones are a little bit, there's too many branches in here, so I'm going to cut that one out. And this one's okay. I'll just top that one off. And then we got to take care of all these little shoots that have come out. Okay. So there's that one. Yeah, that one's okay. I'm gonna take that one. It's too shaded anyway. So then we got this one out here. We'll just take all those extra buds off because it's just way too much. And we don't need all that. We just have to come back and thin it later if we leave them. So we'll try to help it do something a little different. I'm going to cut it short right here and actually go with this one right here. So that leaves that one. Then we got this one way up here. Oh boy, okay. I'll get rid of some of those and let's cut that. All right there. And maybe we'll just leave those guys. And then we just got to come over here and do this. Oh, boy, it does tire you out to talk a lot, huh? So I can cut that one out of the middle. And I'll cut that one out. I got those. And then got kind of the bunny ears again. And we got that. Got spacing for everything again. We try to make sure that's a theme we have to keep reminding ourselves as we go throughout the tree. If we start getting cross-eyed from looking at it for too long, we always go back to, well, the number one thing to remember is things need space. So you're trying to find that space for them, and you should be able to run your hand all the way around everything so that a peach could hang there as well. Okay, we got one more back here coming backwards. So we could try to work with that. Let's try to make it into something positive. And these ones underneath, I'll discard. I'll keep that little guy there and pull a few of those little extra buds off there, and then that one's ready to go. So that kind of completes that area of the tree. I'm actually going to take that one off. It bothers me. So there's always a few of those that just happen to bother you, and you're perfectly welcome to take them off, but maybe you have to ask your tree first if it's okay with them too. Okay, so that kind of completes that area. So because this video has gone a little longer than we thought it might, I've done about half the tree, maybe a little over, maybe 60%. And so I'm just going to go through and finish the rest of the tree so you can get a look at what it looks like when it's finished. And hopefully we've done enough examples through this whole first half of the tree that you're getting a pretty good idea of how to keep the tree in control on height and spacing, and keep spacing so that the tree has room to grow new growth for next year as well. Okay, we are done with the 7-year-old peach tree, and we're tired after that one. And it's getting dark on us, so we're glad to be done. And all we got to do now is a little bit of cleanup on the ground, and then we'll be done. So I hope that this was helpful to you guys to kind of go through an adult tree and see how to keep it in shape and keep it going. And we will see you again on another video, and see you later, guys.